What's it like operating in a country that is essentially divided by 5, 6, however many different factions? You know, you got the United States, you have the Assad regime, you have the Russians who are in there, you have Iranian assets that are in there, you got
Yeah.
ISIS that's in there. How the hell do you even know? I mean, how do you know the Russians aren't just going to try rolling through wherever you are?
Well, they tried that once and it didn't work out didn't
That's
work out
correct.
well for them. I was there for that. The um, it Here's something that this will make some people mad, but I don't, the truth is the truth that I believe generals hide behind, and to be honest with you, so do politicians. They hide behind this lie whenever something they'll say, well, it's really complicated. It's actually not that complicated. You know, ISIS was bad. The Kurds were good. The ISIS was on this side, and we'll just keep killing everyone on that side until we get to Raqqa and we free Raqqa. Um, Syria wasn't a problem. Syria, the whole reason why ISIS was able to take over half of Syria is because the Syrian army was just inept. And the Syrian army, stayed over on the western side, and they didn't have the ability. They weren't going to go toe to toe with Americans or they. I believe they were more than willing to let America rid their country of the ISIS problem, and then they'll get their country back through political means because they know America's going to give it back to them anyway because we're always politically spineless. So that I believe that was their goal, which basically worked out for them. The Russians were just there to do, was just there to stir things up. But I never worried about the Russians, being a part of the problem. The different factions, a slight problem with the different factions because who's a friend one day is an enemy the next. But that generally wasn't a problem because that really didn't happen within the Kurds. And so as long as you just stayed with the Kurds were really good partners. The Kurds were the best partners we've ever had. They were way better than the Afghans and way better than the Iraqis. They were more than willing to fight for their cause. All they wanted was guns and ammo and point in the direction of the enemy, and they as best they could go take care of the problem. I really respected the Kurds.
That's great to hear, and I've only ever heard good things. I'm sure you can't get into details at all. I know exactly the engagement you're referring to with the Russians. You don't have to talk about. I won't ask you to talk about it because you mentioned it. Do you ever sit back, and for anyone watching this, you can Google it. You'll find out about it in 10 seconds. Do you ever sit back and think to yourself, I can't believe I was a part of something in so many ways that was historic?
Yeah, it actually happened twice. I was a part of the second skirmish, and what'll hit the news big is the first one.
Gotcha.
And rightfully so. And so yeah, the first one was the big worthy one. Yeah, just go Google it. But again, it's in the news. I'll talk about it a little bit, but I tell you what's kind of crazy is getting being a small team and getting an intel brief about how to about all the different Russian tanks and Syrian tanks that are in the area. That was definitely a first. And going, what are we doing? Like this, I mean, we're not the team that goes up against tanks. Although ironically enough, we've taken out more than I don't know, maybe more than anyone else. Just out of the skirmishes that we've been in and the places we've been. That's not true. Invasion of Iraq, ODAs took out a lot of tanks through javelins, but we've had our fair share with javelins, and it was definitely a crazy brief and a crazy time. You don't really think that you're going to go toe to toe with the Russians, so to speak, but Syria was a wild time.
This is the last question, and then I want to get into your coffee company that you started. When you look back, you've been out for a few years now. Obviously, you might look back in 20 years. Do you look at this time of your life that you did in the military and all the crazy shit you did and all the crazy shit you got to see, you got shot, you killed terrorists? Does that define you? Or now that you're out, is it more of, yeah, I did that for X amount of years. It was awesome. I loved it, but now I'm on to the next thing.
It's more of that. And yeah, and I've unfortunately, seen it the other way where guys just have a hard time letting go. And I get it, man. I assure you, no one knows what it's like at the highest level to have the world's greatest technology, step on the world's most powerful, the greatest nation's aircraft, alongside, I try to be humble, but as a team, we were the best team in the world. No one was as good as us when you get that team together and you lift off in the middle of the night, just knowing you're probably arguably the greatest fighting force this world's ever seen. And some poor sap is sleeping right now and has no idea what's coming for him. And it's the greatest feeling in the world, and then to step back on that helicopter with, the bravest men you've ever worked with, knowing that once again, you did your job, just like, good guys won again, like they always do. Not always, but unfortunately, but basically like we always do. And we did it again. I definitely wish when you're in those moments, you never know what mission's going to be your last one. You always assume you got another one coming, so you don't really, take it in the way you should. But I mean, I was glad. There was definitely moments as I sat there waiting for a helicopter to come back and pick me up, going, "Remember this. So few people get. This is stuff people read about, and you got to live it." And I just couldn't be any more grateful, that I was able to do that. On the next step in my life, I after Syria, my third major combat theater, and deep into the double digits of deployments, I will always miss getting on a helicopter. But I knew that you can't be on a team forever. I had probably been on a team between ODAs and the unit for way too long. My time was over, and I didn't want to go do a desk job. So when my team time was done, so was I. So it was a pretty easy decision. I was at ease with my decision. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew that chapter of my life was complete.
Well, we kind of know what you're doing now, because that's what we're going to get into next, which is First Responders Coffee Company. And I'll let you take it from here. What was the purpose of starting the company, and kind of what's your long-term goals for where First Responders Coffee Company goes from here?
I started trading some